Okay. What I'd like to do
5013.
is I would like to have you comment on the constitutionality of health care. I don't believe it's constitutional according to the 10th Amendment, and particularly I'm opposed to it because of its poor record in Great Britain and Canada.
Well, we don't have the system that we voted for. The healthcare reform is not the one they have in Canada or Britain. It is still pretty much private insurance at the end of the day. All the different economists, including our own CBO, when they look at who's going to be delivering insurance after this thing's fully implemented in the next 3 years, 2-3 years, private insurance will still be doing 60% of the insurance for people that aren't on Medicare. So that doesn't really change. So there's a lot of misinformation out there about, you know, this being another Medicare or another government-run program. It really isn't. To the extent that we're, I guess I'll say this. I'll say that one thing I heard very clearly last Congress was everyone wanted health care reform. And then the question is, in what form do you want it? And a lot of people are very concerned about this particular bill. I think at the end of the day, people are going to see that this is not so bad. My job on the New Democrat Health Care Task Force is to try and make sure it does work. It does do the things you want. It doesn't drive up the health care costs. I think there's a lot more cost savings in there than a lot of people realize. Already, our own state is working hard to get the exchanges set up so people can buy insurance across state lines. I heard that a lot from my small business community. Please let me buy, pool my resources with other people. So I'm hopeful that at the end of the day, this will play out much, much better. Constitutionality, I'll leave that to the courts. I'm not always in favor of what the courts do. We talked about it a moment ago. But that's going to be decided by a higher power than me. I don't think the individual mandate is as critical as some people make it out to be. But I will tell you, I don't want to pay for somebody else's health insurance in my health insurance premium. So I think that's a pretty cogent argument to at least have people pay their fair share. So maybe a different way to go about it. So we'll see what happens at the end of the day. I'm trying to prepare alternatives should that piece of the bill actually get overturned. But we need health care reform, guys. We can't afford this 20-something.
Thank you. I'm a registered Democrat. And my son called me yesterday. He goes, Mom, we need to go listen to Representative Schrader. He works in D.C. and he's gotten to know your staff very well. In particular, in Mr. Huckleberry.
Oh, yeah, Chris.
He's been helping Ian tweak his resume, and he's been helpful with Ian in looking on his job search. Right now he's working for Target as a research assistant, but his passion is for health. And so he
wants to be underpaid like everybody else. Those poor people, some people get paid well, but it's not the interns. And Trevor will tell you, he didn't get paid very well when he was
And our son has insurance. He's worked with Senator Wyden, Senator Baucus, and Senator Landry's Small Business Committee. But his passion is to be back on the Hill. So I think he'll be getting in touch with Chris again. And if you hear of any SA or LC positions, let him know. There's an Oregonian who would love to work back on the Hill. And if there's somebody in an Oregon office, he would be thrilled.
Well, we try and help a lot of our Oregon young men and women back in Washington, D.C. to see if there's an opportunity to get them into something they're passionate about. And I, as in one of the old dinosaurs, it's nice to have young people still interested in public service and stepping up. It makes me feel pretty good about that. So we'll keep in contact and do what we can. And unfortunately, there's even turnover in our office. Not as much as some. So we're actually in better shape than a lot of folks, and we want to make sure that there's opportunity. So if something opens up, we'll be glad to help out.
Question? Sure. Some of the questions I was going to ask have already been addressed, but I am concerned, this is kind of a two-parter. I'm a federal employee. I'm a union leader over at the National Technology Site. We've invited you to come. You're welcome to come visit us.
Okay.
When you get a chance, we're working on energy issues, trying to make a more secure energy future for America. One thing I wanted to, first thing is that I noticed that there is no budget yet. You all passed another CR. I'd like your insights on whether or not we're going to have a budget or at least some type of sustainable appropriations, because one of the things that's hurting us more than anything in the federal government right now is the uncertainty. I have field trials and we're trying to do with a cooperator, and every time we get one scheduled, we run up against the CR or the potential shutdown of the government. So we have to basically tell our partners that, hey, we may not be able to do this, but we can try to plan, but we can't plan. So some certainty, with the budget would be great. The other part too is that I noticed that I will also say that I'm a registered Republican, but I am concerned about collective bargaining rights. I do think that regardless of whether you're a business owner, or business manager, which I've done in the past, or just an employee like I am now, everyone has the right to assert their rights. It seems as though that the rights of federal employees and other employees, state employees, local employees, are under attack on the public sector for basically abrogating or eliminating their collective bargaining rights. We know we don't on the federal level bargain on salary or benefits, but we do bargain on a whole host of other issues that make, in my opinion, the federal government more effective. And I guess I'm going to sneak one last thing in here. When you're thinking about federal employees, and we're talking about cutting the budget, we hope that with that same vein that we're also going to look at contractors. There are 17 million contractors to the federal government. Some of those people are duplicating work in the federal government that are being done by the 1.8 or so million, inherently governmental employees, or the actual government employees. And you all can look at that, and we think that there'll be a lot of cost savings associated with maybe that 17 million as opposed to the 1.8.
Well, if you have particular ideas about where you see the overlap, that would be helpful. And as I said earlier, I'm into bidding out whoever is going to do the best quality job at the most reasonable price for the taxpayer. I'm all over that. Public, private, I don't care. So I'm interested in that. That would be very helpful. The President, I think, is really onto that also from his State of the Union speech, trying to do the right thing. The collective bargaining, that is a state issue. And I think it's worked fine in our state. It doesn't even seem to be an issue, whether you're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't seem to be an issue in our state. I'm not sure why it's such a big deal. My understanding is that the unions back east have offered to deal down on some things. And frankly, as you're hearing in our own state, the health care benefits, we're going to have to talk about that. We can't afford to do it the way we've been doing that. I understand all the past history and stuff, but the fact of the matter is that not just Oregon, but many states are growing broke, and so everyone's got to put in a little. And I don't think we should.
It is a federal issue too, though, in that some of the proposals have been to curtail bargaining at the federal level.
Yeah, well, that's true. We have all the we get the preemption issues all the time at the federal level. And to your first point on the continuing resolution, a lot of that stuff last week, with all due respect to my colleagues, was mostly political theater. There was a lot of folks trying to cash in on their campaign pledges. The $100 billion isn't even $100 billion. It's 60. That's 14.5% of domestic spending wiped out in 7 months. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, that'd be irresponsible to do it without subcommittee hearings, input from all of you guys about the different programs. And if you had talked to me 2 days ago, I would have bet on a shutdown because my Republican colleagues, the Republican leadership was here. They got drug over here by some of the new members coming in, a little overzealous. My leadership and the President were stuck at no changes whatsoever, and it seemed like they were pretty much dug in. Recent events would indicate that the Senate may be willing to work with the House Republicans, Senate Democrats with the House Republicans, on a very short-term fix by agreeing to eliminate some programs that even the President had scheduled for elimination in his budget. So we'll see if that occurs. The short-term fix is 2 weeks. So that does not get to your certainty question very well. But this is to give some room for the sides to come together on this. Just a point of information, during the debate on the continuing resolution to keep our government going for the next 7 months, I offered what I thought was a reasonable alternative. It was ruled out of order because this so-called open process wasn't quite as open as you might have been led to believe. If you didn't have $100 billion worth of cuts, you weren't in order. Well, I offered up what I thought was more reasonable, which was about $22 billion worth of cuts, and that's significant. And it's along the lines of what some of us suggested in the last Congress. I think it's doable in a 7-month span, and it shows commitment to the taxpayers and to the voters that we get it. We need to spend a little bit less than what we've been doing, but we don't want to hurt the job recovery. We don't want to hurt this very, very fragile recovery that hasn't even made its way hardly to Oregon yet, so I do not want to kill it. So we'll see if they come close to where Kurt Schrader was a week ago. It'll be kind of interesting to see. Certainly, the Republican leadership had a more reasonable proposal than they ended up with, so there's room to discuss. But I am a little worried. I mean, if I was you, I'd certainly be asking your supervisors what are the contingency plans, just to make sure no one's hurt by that sort of thing.
Thank you.